our channel Rise and Shine. So within this channel we are going to see so many series. Today we are going to see we are in a video series on object oriented programming. This series is useful for second year IT, computer as well as E&TC students in university curriculum. As well as this series is useful for BCA and MCA students also. Or this video series is very important for those who want to learn object oriented programming from zero or from scratch. So in this video series, in today's session, we are going to see object oriented concepts. What are the main object oriented concepts in object oriented programming, or what are the basic building blocks of object oriented programming? So in this series on object oriented programming, or in this session on object oriented concept, we are going to see the concepts such as objects, classes, what do you mean by abstraction, what do you mean by encapsulation, message passing, inheritance, and last but not the least, this session we conclude with the polymorphism. What do you mean by polymorphism? And we are going to see all these concepts with some example in general life as well as in programming. So let us start. In last session we have seen what do you mean by object oriented programming, or what are its benefits, what are its advantages, how they are better than other programming approach such as procedure oriented. So again I will revise what do you mean by object oriented programming. Object oriented program or programming, in object oriented program is considered as collection of interacting objects. That is object, whatever the objects they are interacting, or sometimes this object oriented programming, these objects is capable of sending and receiving the messages, and through which they are processing the data. Means data is revolving around the objects instead of procedure. But now we are going to see in detail what do you mean by these objects. So what do you mean by object? So objects are nothing but any real-time entity is called as object. For example, you are real-time object, that is student. Myself, faculty, is a real-time entity, that is also object. So anything in a business is called as object. For example, you are taking example of banking. There, whatever the real-time concepts or real-time entities such as customer, account, bank manager, bank, all are the objects. For example, consider this is a one boy or a student. It is one object. A traffic signal is also object, or a car is also object. And in object-oriented programming, these objects are interacting with each other by sending messages. So this is called as object. Any real-time entity is an object. So such real-time objects or real-time entities has three things. Number one, characteristics. Number two, the behavior, and the state. So every object is having characteristics, behavior and state. So we will see one by one. What do you mean by characteristics or properties? For example, consider this pen. This pen is also a real-time entity. So this pen is having certain characteristics such as its color is blue and white. Or it is having properties such as it is a 5 centimeter long, or it is having height as a 5 centimeter. So this is called as a real-time object, and it is having so many characteristics. Or it is a blue color pen. It is a blue color pen. Means its ink color is also one property or characteristics. And again these characteristics are either static or dynamic. What do you mean by static characteristics? Static characteristics means are the characteristics of object which never change throughout the life of object. Never change throughout the life of object. Means object is also having life. And dynamic characteristics means the object, that characteristics are changing throughout the life of object. For example, currently ink level is 3 centimeter. So when I am writing something, ink level goes to 2 centimeter. When I am means that characteristic ink level is changing, dynamic. When I am again pouring ink into this pen, ink level goes increased to 4 cm, 5 cm. Means ink level within this pen is dynamic. Or currently the blue ink is there in this pen. If I am pouring a red ink color change. That is red. Means static and dynamic. Object is having characteristics plus static characteristics and dynamic characteristics. So this is called an object. Objects are having the characteristics or properties which such as static and dynamic. Next, this object is having behavior. What do you mean by behavior of object? Behavior of object means how this object act and react with another object. For example, this pen is acting with this whiteboard for writing purpose. Means writing is a behavior of this pen. But if I am using this as a pointing here, see, this is a boy. Means this object is behaving as pointing device. Means behavior is pointing. Or suppose I am throwing this pen to use. So it is work as a weapon. So what is the behavior of this object? How object act and react with another object. So this pen reacting with this whiteboard for writing. So writing is a behavior. And again, what do you mean by state? State means, state of object means, listen carefully. State of object means whatever the value of characteristic for some time instance or at a current time, what is the value of characteristics? For example, ink level 3 cm. Then the color height is 5 cm. So this 3 cm, this is called a state of object. And I am saying that object is having life. So throughout the life of object, when it act and react with another object, it changes its state or changes its value of characteristics. So when I am writing so many lines, ink level goes to 2 cm. Means the ink level characteristics is changed from 3 cm to 2 cm. State of object is changed. For example, if you go to ATM machine is one real-time object. It is idle when you are going inside the ATM. As you insert a card in that ATM system, one welcome message is there. So your ATM machines move from idle state to welcome state. So this is called as, so whenever the external or another object is acting with or reacting with any another object, objects is changing its state. So this is all about object. It is a real-time entity, it is having characteristics. Characteristics are static and dynamic, and then behavior, how object act and react with another object, and state of the object which is changing or which will change throughout the life of object. Next we are going to see what do you mean by class concept. Second concept in object-oriented programming. So what do you mean by class? Class is a definition of object. Means to create an object or how my object look like, whether my object is green, black, thenna, butka, it is how it will look like. What is the behavior of that object? To define all that thing, we require something, and that something is nothing but a class which defines the object. So a class defines characteristics as well as the behavior of object, characteristics, properties and behavior both. Or sometimes in another word or another definition of class is a family of object with similar characteristics and behavior. For example, student is one class which is having students are having same characteristics and behavior. For example, student is having roll number, name, age, sex, marks or properties, exam, he is giving examination, he is running, writing, eating. So this is behavior, and all students are doing all these same things, are having same character. So student is one class. So class is a definition of object, how object look like, it defines the characteristics, or it is a family of objects with similar characteristics. So we will see this concept pictorially. For example, consider this is a car. Car is a object. But to define this object, how my car look like, we need something. That something is nothing but car. See, that car object I am defining in this way. Car is having ear of manufacturing, make, that is company, model. Then car is having behavior such as we can on off car, we can take a gear in a car, we can accelerate or de-accelerate a car. So this is called as class, or this is called as class, the definition of object. So to define this object car, we have to write or we have to create this thing. This is called as class. This is car, and once you have this definition, you can create n number of objects, or to define such object we have to create the class. So we will see what is the relationship between these two concepts, because these concepts are very near to each other. There is no difference. When you are loving object oriented systeming very deeply, then you think that there is no difference between class and object. But my student, there are so much difference. So I will explain you that difference, what do you mean by class and what do you mean by object. So consider this is a class student. This is a class student with definition of properties of student as name, age and sex. And every student is having behavior such as eating, drinking and running. So I have defined this class as a student. So once I have this definition, I can create a number of objects such as object with particular name John, age 12, color fair, sex male, or John can eat more, or behavior it's, or name Sophia, age 10, or name Ali or Yuli, age 11. So once I am having a class, I can create the object. So my students, class is a factory of objects and object is an instance of class which is created in that factory. So once we have a factory, that is class definition, we can create n number of objects which is having that characteristics, same characteristics and same behavior. So what is class? Definition of objects. Class is used to define the characteristics and properties, or class is nothing but the collection of similar objects who are having same characteristic, same behavior. So in this way we are representing class in object oriented analysis, design or programming. So in this way we can represent, suppose this is object name Ferrari, this car is a Ferrari model, and its class name is as a class. Properties with value, color dark grey, door count 2, wheel color orange, max speed. Then this methods of car or behavior, car can turn off, move, turn on, turn off. You can use horn, increase speed, slow down, accelerate, de-accelerate. So in this way we can represent the class in computer. That is, properties get converted into attributes and behavior get converted into methods, or characteristics or attributes are again called as properties. So in this way we can convert the real world object car into object oriented programming. So next concept we are going to see abstraction. So what do you mean by abstraction? Abstraction. Suppose to understand this abstraction, in each and every class I am asking one question to my student. So my student, suppose I ask you the question, can you draw the picture of mammal or just a mammal? No. Because mammal is a concept. It is abstracting. You can't define or you can't concretely say that, see, this is a picture and this is, so that is intangible thing, concept, abstraction. So concepts are sometimes abstraction. So this is called as abstraction. We can't tangibly define it. So abstraction is an act of representing essential feature without including the background details or explanation. For example, mammal. So what is important thing? Mammals are those animals which can give birth directly to their child. It's called as mammal. That's it. Which is important thing. Mammal means they are directly giving birth to their child. Such as the cat gives the birth to the kittens. So in this way, but we can't say draw the picture of mammal. We can draw the picture of cat, dog, human being, anything. But we can't draw the picture of mammal because mammal is abstract concept or it is abstract thing. So abstract is concentrating on important things and neglecting other background detail. So again, my student, you are not getting concept. Okay, we will explain it by some example. For example, this is a car, and this person is a normal user who is using car for picnic, vacation, office or anything. And this is an automobile engineer who will think about the speed of car, or what is the force of car, or what is internal working of that car, how engine will work, F equal to m. That is, he is thinking car engineering because he is an automobile engineer. So abstraction means what is important for this boy, or for this human, or for this man, the how I can use a car. And what is important for this automobile engineer? How to increase the speed of car. Means abstraction is different for different person. Or again, you can take an example of another thing. Suppose this is a TV set. This is a television. And as a normal user, suppose this is one normal user who is using this television. So what is the important thing for this man? What is important thing for this man? Which program and which time? When there is a cricket match, when there is a movie. So he is thinking that this TV is an entertainment device. Important thing for this man. He is neglecting other background details such as how signals are propagating from this tower to my TV set, or what is the internal circuitry of TV which converts this signal into picture. So that things are nothing important for this man. That things are abstracted. That things are nothing but the abstracted from that man. Hidden, abstracted, or though he know that thing, that is not important. But again think, suppose another man who is a electronics engineer or E&TC person, E&TC engineer. So for this engineer, now what is abstraction? What is the internal circuitry of TV? How signals are propagated? Means whenever there is a change in view, there is a change in abstraction. Whenever there is a change in view, this person is viewing this car as a device, entertainment device. But this automobile engineer is viewing this car as a how to increase the speed, what is the engine capacity or thing. Or this is another example for your abstraction. So whenever there is change in view, change in abstraction. So but what do you mean by abstraction? Abstraction means nothing but concentrating on important thing and neglecting other background detail. So we'll see next concept such as, so this is called as sometimes data abstraction. When we move forward in this session, we will see what do you mean. Or this is another example for abstraction. That is, this driver want to stop this car, or he is accelerating the car. So he is sending the message accelerate, and car will accelerate. But to accelerate the car, or he is just pushing the fuel inside the engine, car will get accelerated. But what happens behind? There are so much thing is happening the behind. That is engine, some fuel is burned, then burst is generated, then engine speed is increased, and in this way car get accelerated. But this man don't know how car is accelerated. What are the background process to accelerate that? Simply speed of car is getting. This is called as process abstraction. When data is hidden, data abstraction. When process is hidden, process abstraction. So this is all about abstraction. Next concept is encapsulation. So what do you mean by encapsulation? Encapsulation, capsuling the something. So encapsulation means binding the things together and covering it with some cover. Simple, general meaning, dictionary meaning. So encapsulation is a technique of packaging the things together so as to form a well-defined single unit. So to bind the thing. So the wrapping of a data and methods into a single unit class is known as encapsulation. So this is general meaning. Wrapping the things with some cover and getting one unit is an encapsulation. But what encapsulation? The best example in object-oriented programming, class, where we are binding together data and the functions which are working on that data. We are binding together. Class is nothing but what is having class? Class is having properties. Class is having methods. Class is having properties and behavior of objects. So we are binding things together. So class is the best example of encapsulation in object-oriented programming. See, this is a capsule, and in this capsule and outside this brackets there is outside word. So class encapsulate method and variable, method and data, and that method and data sometimes are not accessible from outside word. So encapsulation. So the insulation of data or insulation to data from direct access from outside the class is called as data ID. We cannot access this variable from outside the class. If you want to access, we can access it through such a method. So we will see in upcoming sessions how to do these things. But what is encapsulation? It is binding the thing together, and when there is an encapsulation, we will achieve one more concept. That concept is called as data hiding. So data hiding and encapsulation, nothing but one and the same thing. But abstraction and encapsulation is different thing. So there is a homework question for you people. So you find out what is difference between encapsulation and the abstraction. So many times in your placement, such a question will be asked, tricky question will be asked. What is the difference between encapsulation and abstraction? So my student, in our session we are covering such placement related important points also. So you prepare for this thing. When you are going into the B, then you finding the answers to such questions. So it is a time to write down your own answer for such tricky questions. So write down your own answer, do some googling. What is difference between encapsulation and abstraction? Or sometime in university exam, such a question may be asked. Next concept is message passing. So in very first slide we have seen object oriented programming means what? It is a collection of objects which are interacting with each other by sending messages. So message passing, the object communicate with one another by sending and receiving information much same way as people pass the message to one another. Object oriented systems or object oriented programming they are very near to real world. So we are using it. We can directly model the real world business into programming. So this modeling is easy, so we are using. So in real world, how we are passing the message? How you are passing a message to your student using WhatsApp? So same thing, using methods. Here objects is passing the message. How you are acting and reacting with your friend? Through the messages. So same thing. So this is the process where object sends the data to another object. So whenever any object want to send any data in the form of signal, in the form of variable, in the form of something, they use such message passing. So this is example. Suppose this man or a driver of a car, for example myself, Ravi, we are pushing the car brake. He is pushing the car brake to stop the car. Means he want to stop this car. Means what? He is sending the message stop by pushing that brake. That is car. Car, stop, please stop. Hey car, please stop. He is pushing and car will activate the brake. Suppose car is class and Wagner is an object. So in this way we are representing the object in object oriented, class name and object name. So it activates the brake mechanism and car will stop. So this is, in this way, objects in real world, objects are sending a message. In same way, in object oriented programming we are sending messages through methods. Means here a stop method is executed in this class, human class or man class or driver class. And that class, whenever this brake method or stop method is executed, it is sending one message to brake method of another class, that is car class. So this is message. Next is inheritance. So what do you mean by inheritance? Which is again a very important concept. Inheritance means, or inheritance is a special type of process creating the new classes from already existing class or classes. So this is very important concept in object oriented programming. So whenever you want to define a new thing, there is no need to define it from scratch or from zero. Whatever things, whatever the classes you are already having, using that classes you can create a new classes. So in this process, one class acquires the property or behavior of another class. For example, consider you are having a class initially, polygon. So what are the variables of polygon? Suppose vertices. And now if your business is increased, suppose this is your software, the object software, or it is your some graphical software where you are drawing some graphs or some figures. So once you have a polygon class in your software, there is no need to define rectangle class again from scratch or zero. Using that polygon you can create a rectangle class, or again using that polygon class, once you have this definition, you can create the triangle. So here the polygon is called a base class or parent class, or base class, parent class, or the super class, and these classes are called as derived classes or child classes. So once you have a parent classes, you have the basic things, you have a specification, you have a interfaces specification, then you can create the concrete thing. So I am using another terminology. Once you have a specification, you can create concrete thing. So polygon is here the specification or the abstract thing. Once you have abstract thing or specification, you can create the concrete thing such as a rectangle, polygon, abstract thing. Again here abstract. Suppose I am saying draw a polygon, you can't draw. But I am saying draw a rectangle, you can draw a rectangle. Because rectangle is a concrete thing, polygon is an abstract thing. So once you have a specification, you can create the concrete thing. So base class, once you have base concept, you can create the child concept or derived concept. Or again inheritance, animal, which is abstract thing, which is again subdivided or classified as reptiles, mammals and birds. Again mammals are classified as a tiger, horse, elephant, zebra or a cat. So this is called as inheritance diagram. So whenever we are moving from upward to downward, in inheritance diagram, whenever we are moving from upward to downward, see here, I am moving in this direction, in this scenario, I am generalizing the things. And whenever I am moving the upward in this direction, I am specializing the things. Means this inheritance sometimes called as generalization and specialization type of thing. You are moving in upward direction, elephant is a mammal is an animal. Generalizing, animal is a general concept or a specification or abstract concept. But when you are moving in a downward direction, animal, mammals and particular elephant, you are specializing, concrete thing. So my student, this is called a generalization and specialization diagram. Purposefully I am using these words because these words you have to remember up to B. In B there is one subject, object oriented analysis and design. At that time these concepts are very much important. So inheritance, this is called inheritance diagram. When we are moving in upward direction, generalization, moving in a downward direction, specialization. Upward, abstract things, specification. Downwards, concrete things. So this is all about inheritance. Next, we are going to see the polymorphism, the next concept. Next, we are going to see the polymorphism. So what do you mean by polymorphism? So polymorphism means ability to take more than one form. Or polymorphism means one thing, many forms. Again example, pen, used for writing, one purpose, one thing, pen, many forms, writing instrument or writing device, many forms, pen is a pointing device. And hitting this pen to you, a pen is act as a weapon, one pen, behaving differently. Pen, pointing device, pen, writing device, pen as a weapon, one thing, many forms. So whenever one object, one function, one variable is taking many forms in programming, it is called as polymorphism. Meaning polymorphism. It is Greek word. When we break it, polymorphism. Poly and morphs. Poly means many, morphs means forms. When one thing is taking many forms, one pen, pointing device, one pen, writing device, same pen as a weapon, polymorphism. One thing, many forms. So in programming, ability of object to behave differently in different situations, or ability of object behaving runtime runtime situation. It's our runtime context. When context is changed, behavior is changed. It is called as polymorphism. Don't worry, again I will explain you it pictorially. Again consider my same characteristics. Boy is one object, one thing, boy. So whenever there is a change in context, change in situation, runtime, this boy behaves differently in different situation at runtime. So when this boy goes to school, he is not a boy now, he is student in a school. One boy, now he is student. Same boy is son for his mother. Son for his mother. Same boy is a passenger when he is going to school by bus. He is passenger in a bus. Or same boy when he go to the shopping mall, then he is a customer. So one thing, many forms. One thing, one boy, one object is taking different forms in different situation at runtime. So this is called as polymorphism. One thing, many forms. Polymorphism. So summary of this session is, we have seen these many concepts. Object, class, abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism. Object, real-time entity. Class, definition of object. Abstraction, concentrating on important thing, neglecting other background detail. Encapsulation, data plus method in a class or wrapping the things together with some cover. Inheritance, new form from existing one or create a new thing from existing one, create a new classes from existing classes. Polymorphism, one thing, many forms. So these are the concept. And abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism. These four things are called as these four things. Abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism. These four things called as the basic four pillars of object-oriented. Program. So here we stop, my student. So to learn such a technologies, one more place is there. Suppose you want to learn online or face-to-face, we are having one institute, or one we are calling it as our Gurukul, not an institute. We are not institute. Logipool, which is the pool of logical people from software companies. So here we are giving so many courses to get a job-oriented courses or career-oriented courses. We are also official training partner for Oracle and Red Hat Linux. So Logipool is our IT Gurukul, where we teach you the all programming, web development and data science and machine learning. So many courses are there. So go to www.logipool.in for more details. So my student, hope this lecture is informative for you. Kindly like, share and subscribe to our channel Rise and Shine, where we are providing the videographic or the infographic videos on all the technologies from KG to PG and from simple stotras to syntax. So thank you very much. Keep watching, keep learning. Thank you.